Live on a Monday. It's the 12th of May. Welcome inside the vault for a Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. I'm Bobby Trossett. She's Sarah Ellison. We've got a lot to get to. It's great to be back with you guys for a fresh new week and one that, as usual, will be jam-packed with a big event coming up on Wednesday night, which we'll tell you about in just a second. If you could please, on your way in today, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when we're dropping our daily live content. Today's piece of content will begin with some news that came out late last week, Sarah, and that is regarding Rashod Bateman and the Ravens. From there, we will transition into somewhat of a quiet parting of ways for a popular Ravens assistant coach within the special teams department and a Ring of Honor member, if I might add. And then we're going to get to, actually right now, off the top, what's this week is all about, Sarah, and that is the NFL's annual schedule release, which really has become what we know as just an extravaganza, much like every other thing that this league puts together. So on Wednesday night, the official schedule release will be unveiled, which means we will have the times and dates, at least for the majority of the opponents, coming up this fall for the Ravens and every other team for that matter. And as we learned earlier, Sarah, it's going to be Eagles and Cowboys, an NFC East showdown to kick off the 2025 season. That is Thursday, September 4th on NBC and Peacock, and it's an 8:20 start. Of course, Philly is the reigning champion, Philadelphia Eagles, and then, of course, the rivalry of Cowboys and Eagles will matter a lot for those two fan bases. So off and running, Sarah. It's going to be a week full of announcements, at least here in the first half.
That's right. Bobby mustache and Bobby backwards hat. I think this makes a lot of sense for the NFL to start off this way. Obviously, you want to get the Super Bowl champs in there. And they had some other teams to choose from. But the Cowboys, you know, they have ratings. They get ratings. They get ratings all the time, especially in the beginning of the season. They've now got George Pickens. Dak Prescott's coming back from injury. So if they fall off and have, you know, a bad season, then they won't bring as many ratings later on. But when they're going to want to see this new wide receiver, they're going to want to see the return of Dak, and then it's going to be against a conference. They're division rivals, actually. A division rival against the Super Bowl champs. This makes a lot of sense to me from the NFL's perspective and just getting eyeballs on TV.
You and me both. So that's what's coming up. It was Ravens Chiefs last year. It'll be Eagles Cowboys this year. And for the rest of what things will look like, we just have to wait and see. Well, here are the away opponents. Of course, we've covered this, but just in case you needed a little refresher to kick off the week, and we will be live, by the way. I'll tell you about that in just a second for our third annual, I believe it is, schedule release special coming up in live stream form on Wednesday night. Outside of the division opponents, on the road, the Ravens will go to Buffalo, much like they did last year in that divisional round playoff game. They'll go to Miami. They'll go to the iconic Lambeau Field in Green Bay. They'll go to Minnesota. And, of course, they'll go to Kansas City. In terms of who they'll host outside of the division, New England, New York, meaning the Jets, Detroit, Chicago, Houston, and Los Angeles, meaning the Rams. And as I also threw into this screenshot, Sarah, on the right-hand side of our screen here is Brian McCarthy, who's one of the lead PR executives for the National Football League. Look at the way that they're teasing this. So the Today Show had this morning's news that we've already covered. Apparently, there's more as well. Fox will have an announcement today. Prime Video will have an announcement. Every single big network, streaming or non-streaming, is going to have a network here, or is going to have an announcement slot here. So this is just how they play it up. And I'm sure, as we talked about in our pre-show, the Ravens got to be included with Lamar, with what they've done, with how many eyeballs and how much success they've had throughout, recent seasons. Obviously, the league wants them to be in the limelight here.
Yeah, we mentioned this a little bit last week, but I think it stands that when you have probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus all the international games of these guys announcing big games, these networks are going to want to put out their biggest and best to steal the show before even Wednesday. And with the way that Lamar Jackson and the eyeballs that he always seems to draw when he's on prime time, especially in the regular season. He always seems to go off in prime time in the regular season. So Bobby, if I had my way, you tell me what you'd like. I would love to hear about Ravens Bengals in one of these primetime games, these home games, maybe opening the season. I would love to get the Bengals early in the season because they're never ready. Love, an early win if possible there. And now, if they had to have an opener on the road, which I don't know what the Orioles schedule is right now. A lot of times we can already get an idea of what that's going to be. Give me the Bills. Give me the freaking Buffalo Bills. Because we need revenge. And here's the thing, Bobby, is I know the Ravens can get it. I know they can beat the Buffalo Bills. That was just a wreck in the first half, what they showed. And then, obviously, what we know with Mark Andrews down the stretch. I want that bitter. I need a cleanser from that. The bitter taste. I need the revenge. The Buffalo Bills fans, right now, it's always changing. They for sure on our number one in the annoying opposing fans meter right now. They've been that way for a year. Give me the Bills early on national TV so we can get, it's not full revenge because you don't get full revenge till it happens in the playoffs, but we need to start the revenge cycle.
If I'm a betting man, it's when, not if, that rematch is on primetime airwaves, right? It's got to be. It's got to be. It's just a matter of when. If I'm also a betting man, the other opponents, the other matchups that I would predict to either be primetime or standalone, as we covered last year. The Ravens had at least one standalone game, if memory serves, last year, one of which, of course, was on Christmas Day in Houston. I would probably go Kansas City. So Buffalo and Kansas City, I could definitely see those being standalone or primetime. I could also maybe see if Kansas City being in that 425 window if for some reason they're already maxed out at that point in the schedule. Outside of that, you'd think Pittsburgh would be one. Sure. Could also get on the train of Cincinnati, like you mentioned. And then
LA Rams, the Rams always get primetime stuff too. There's not as much of a rival, but I could see them just from a TV rating standpoint.
Yes, I was going to go Green Bay or LA for my other
Green
one.
Bay too. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. This isn't going to be an easy schedule, Bobby.
No.
The Detroit Lions went all the way to this NFC Championship game. Chicago trying to be an up-and-coming team. Let's see if Stroud bounces back from maybe a sophomore slump. He lost his receivers. Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, LA Rams with Stafford. The Bengals are going to be looking to come back. Minnesota Vikings, like you said, Green Bay. Kansas. I mean, it's not going to be this is going to be a gauntlet again this year for the Ravens.
Feels like we say it every year. I mean, this is a first place schedule for the third consecutive year. Second consecutive year. Would it be? It's either the second or third consecutive first place schedule that they've had to face. And I feel like we say it every year. They got formidable opponents up there. They got difficult road assignments. What was it, 2 years ago that they were the most traveled team in terms of air mileage of any team? And they withstood the test of time. They withstood the test last year as well. So I have no doubt that they're going to be just fine in the regular season.
And just one thing is, like, you ever notice it's always in KC? I mean, always, except for the last AFC Championship game.
They had one. They had one. But, yes, more often than not, it's in Kansas City. When Lamar flipped into the end zone, they hosted him at home.
Yeah, but that was, like, years ago.
No, I know. But
yeah, that's my point. It's been I feel like that was 2019.
It's been a minute.
It wasn't
I don't think it was 19.
All right, we're going to have to look it up. But point being is obviously first place schedules play each other to keep parity, but I think the person with the better record gets the home game. So that's why I think Bills and KC get it at home.
Ricky and James all over the end zone flip 2021 season
and they even have the week. They put week 2. Jeez Louise.
Yeah. And that checks out too from jogging my memory. So thank you, gentlemen.
All right, so it's been 4 years then.
It's been a few.
This will be marked the 4th year. Yeah.
But your point stands. It's more often than not out there in Kansas City. And here's what we got coming up on Wednesday night. We will be live for our annual schedule release. And one of the many things that we'll be rolling out, which is sponsored by Be More Around Town, cannot recommend enough. Once the schedule comes out, Sarah, I know you and I, maybe I I don't know if you share this sentiment. It's one of my favorite days of the entire year because you can plan your life for 6 months.
Right.
It's just exciting to schedule trips. It's exciting to know where you're going to be and when you're going to be there. So I'm fired up about it. Be More Around Town's a great place, by the way, a great site, a great company to do road travel with, to do home travel, meaning the tailgates and everything else that Brian and his team are so elite at putting on. That's that. This is what we have also in the form of a giveaway, courtesy of Primary Residential Mortgage. If you want to hop on it in advance, go to PRMI Mid-Atlantic on Instagram right now and follow these instructions. You'll be eligible, if you do so correctly, for $100 towards the Team Baltimore store. Ooh. Fanatics. So that's one of the many wrinkles, Sarah, that we have coming up on Wednesday night. We hope everybody will join us. And it's not too early to look ahead as well. You pulled this one in.
Just heading into the schedule release. I just got this morning. Poly Market, looking at the chances, the odds of each team heading to the Super Bowl. Not just heading, but winning the Super Bowl. They've got both the Eagles and the Ravens tied at the top for a 12% chance, followed by the Bills and Chiefs tied at 11% chance, and the Lions at 10%. So obviously, they're picking some teams that are all just coming off success over the last year or so. Oh, but I love seeing the Ravens at the top of that list.
As do I. It's going to be a fun year. It's going to be a fun year. It's going to be a fun week, which I think is why we already have several super chats in here. So we might as well, since a lot of them pertain to what we just discussed, we might as well pull up some of these real quick before we jump into bait. Adit says the Orioles play home on September 7th. 11th, 18th, 21st, and 25th. So those will be dates that, of course, you'll want to watch. If you're wondering, the 7th is a Sunday.
Whoa. Yeah.
The 11th is a Thursday. So Adit is smartly going about this. He's picking days that football is played in primetime fashion in some cases, like Thursday the 11th, for example. The 21st is a Sunday. And the 25th is a Thursday. So he's got 2 Sundays, 2 Thursdays of these 4 dates in the opening month of the calendar. And so that'll be obviously something to watch on Wednesday.
So to me, that means if the Ravens are going to have a home opener on the opening week, it would have to be a Monday night. Unless September 7th game is early in the day and maybe they get a Sunday night game on the 7th.
Typically Sundays are matinees. Typically somewhere in that 1 o'clock hour or so. But that varies from series to series, especially when you have makeup games and doubleheaders and such. I'm sure we can go ahead and look. I'm sure it's out there right now.
But the chances then being, since like you said, since Orioles, usually if they play on Sunday, it's matinee. So the chances are that the Ravens either start on the road or they get a home opener Monday night, or their home opener will be the next week on the 14th. Right? Not set in stone, but based off the Orioles schedule, that's the way it's kind of pushing us.
And indeed, it's a 1:35 first pitch on Sunday the 7th in September against the Los Angeles Dodgers, which that's going to be well attended from an external. I would think the Dodgers fan base is global. So that'll be a busy day if that is a game in which, or a day in which they might potentially be hosting someone, to your point. Or is it more likely that they give us a divisional round rematch on the road that day in Buffalo? I can totally see that scenario.
I'm not against that.
I'm not either. Get right back to it. Get it out of the way. Get your early revenge in terms of kickstarting your regular season. And then, most importantly, you won't have to play in that weather and that climate later on. So,
exactly right. Exactly right.
Thanks, Adit. Yeah. That was smart, Adit, right there, in terms of kind of looking ahead and forecasting how things might shake out this week. Lewis, who is celebrating 2 months of channel membership, and he wants to let us know in the form of a super chat. Appreciate you, Lewis.
Can we what is it? Oh, sorry, I'll let you read it off. Am I reading it?
Yeah, it's your turn.
He says, best podcast in the business, tried to reward another member, but wound up making a donation, I believe through Venmo, delivering mail on my birthday. Thank you very much, Lewis. Him saying, best podcast in the business. Bobby knows that I sent him a text message on Friday. Was it, Bobby?
This is pretty funny.
Well, I don't know what got into me, but I randomly Googled best Ravens YouTube channels. Okay. And the AI overview, which Bobby is the most accurate AI ever in town, never incorrect.
Never.
Ever, never, ever, ever. Not like we've ever caught it being incorrect before. Anyway, it says the best Ravens YouTube channels include the official Baltimore Ravens channel. You got to put them in there. And The Vault, a podcast covering the Baltimore Ravens channel. And then it goes through each one. It has links to both. I love it. So according to Lewis, and AI Overview, we're the best in the business, Bobby.
Apparently, we have cut them a little bit short. AI Overview. I've been harsh on them in recent weeks. They've been almost there or almost fully accurate. But
and now they've arrived.
This one, I think it's a chef kiss on this one. And thank you to everybody who makes this possible for us to show up in that search engine that way. That's super cool, alongside a team that obviously has a little bit more firepower in their arsenal than we do. So thank you guys. Thank you so much. Let's rip through these so we can get to our lead today on Bateman, and that's where Yo-Jitsu's going. You better leave Bate alone. Let's go, Voltrons. We're going to talk about Rashod in just a second, and A-Rod showing you a little bit of love.
Oh, he says, Happy Mother's Day, Sarah. Sending you purple love. Appreciate that. I'm going to tell you, it was a good Mother's Day. It was a great Mother's Day. My husband got together with the husbands of my really close girlfriends here, and they made us dinner. So we had about, I don't even know, it's hard to count because we always bring kids along too. I don't know, we probably had 20 or 30 people over here yesterday. And I never, I didn't clean anything. I didn't well, that's not true. I vacuumed a little bit before they came just because I wanted to. But I didn't clean up after dinner. My husband made some killer salmon. He had a pound cake that he made from scratch. I saw him on FaceTime with his mom figuring it out. Fruit on top and chocolate, syrup kind of topping. And then all the other husbands brought the side dishes. I mean, it was so good. There were people over here for maybe 3-4 hours. It was such a good, went to church in the morning, which I love to do. Such a good Mother's Day. And surrounded by all these kids, my girls wrote me these cards that almost made me bawl out of happiness. So good to me. Everybody was so good to me. It was a great, great day. I appreciate A-Rod giving me some love too.
It's well-deserved. It's well-deserved. One of the first things you ever told me prior to our partnership was the commitment that you have to your household and to your 4 kids. And that has only grown in terms of just my observations from afar. And then obviously up close and personal when I had the privilege of watching you mother throughout, our time together at the Vault Summit. So good stuff, A-Rod. And yeah, happy Mother's Day, partner. Happy belated Mother's Day. And Leslie Trossett out there as well. I love you. We didn't have a chance to catch up with her in person yesterday just because she's in upstate New York, but luckily the middle brother had a wedding up there, and so he trained in from New York, took her to brunch. We all picked that up for her as a sibling quad group, and she'll be in town on Thursday for a long weekend of celebrations for my brother's Loyola College graduation. So that's what we have going on there. We may have to pause after this one just so we can get into our Bateman lead, but Hayes09 writes, who's also a channel member, says, give us Rams week 1, both electric teams on both sides. What games do you plan on going to? Me, it's Miami, vacation game. Detroit, home. Oh, and how can you not go to Lambeau, dude? You're right on. He's going to the Packers. Honestly,
I think you're waiting to see the international games, right?
Definitely. And to be, quite candid here, I don't know what my sort of schedule looks like as of right now with Be More Around Town. I think some of you guys know I am going to be doing some travel, some remote work travel this fall. And so any game that I go to will require travel rather than just hopping in the Bronco and driving over to the Be More Around Town tailgate for home games. So I am a TBD. I would love to go to Lambeau, Sarah. I think that's obviously an iconic bucket list type of trip. And then outside of that, if there's international, you can bet that I'll be there. And maybe Miami if I'm going to be living in St. Pete, because I did sign a lease September 1st. I will be in St. Pete for football season and potentially coming in and out.
Oh, that was your low-key announcement right there. You made it very low-key in the middle of Super Chats.
Yeah, a lot of it's been tentative, but there is a lease that's in place right now to go to St. Pete, Florida, September 1st. Come in for select home games. Continue to do what you and I do. There's going to be zero change to anything, aside from my geography. I will still have a footprint here. That's the plan moving forward. We appreciate you, Hayes09. Shall we get into the topic at hand and take a quick pause and revisit the super chats in just a bit?
Yes, but can I also say congratulations real quick?
Yeah, thank you.
Finalizing that. I mean, I kind of knew what was happening behind the scenes, but just officially, publicly, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. There'll be much more to come on that. I don't mean to gloss over it whatsoever. There's been a lot of thought and reflection that's went into this, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the change of scenery. I'm excited to embrace everything, and ultimately, I'm excited that it changes nothing for you and me. That's why we built this.
Yep.
You know, we built this for a number of reasons, and I will go into more detail in the coming weeks when the time is right. The time was apparently right this time last year for the Ravens when they extended Rashod Bateman, Sarah, because they saw something in him. And now a year later, his services are wanted. Look at this from Jordan Schultz, NFL insider, who's been bursting onto the scene in recent months. During their pursuit of a receiver, Jerry Jones and the Cowboys looked into a trade, Sarah, at least a preliminary trade for Ravens wide receiver Rashod Bateman. The talks did not go far. Dallas ultimately winds up with who you mentioned earlier on in George Pickens from Pittsburgh. But Sarah, what a testament to the growth. Feels a little full circle here about Rashod Bateman. And ultimately the Ravens are like, nah, we're good. This is our complimentary guy here to Zay Flowers. He's somebody that might be just the best bargain at his position in the entire league. And heck, if he puts forth another season and continues the upward trajectory, we might be ripping up that deal. He's under contract for the next 2 years and rewarding him with an extension that's more warranted and worthy of what he's put forth. This was a cool report, an encouraging one from last week.
Bobby, this report right here is a statement to the NFL, both about Rashod Bateman and about the Baltimore Ravens. Bobby, can we just pause for a second and realize, just a little moment of silence, and realize that teams actually called the Baltimore Ravens, given the franchise history of drafting at this position, that they actually want Ravens wide receivers and are willing to pay actual draft compensation? Okay, Bobby, this happened with Hollywood Brown, but that situation is a little bit different because Hollywood wanted to leave. He said, I can't be here with Greg Roman anymore. And he said, I got to get out of here. And they got a first rounder out of it. But it was EDC who had to call other teams. No. In this case, it's one Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, who everybody seems to say is America's team. Not my team, but for some reason, America's team. Okay. They called the Baltimore Ravens and said, hey, we like your receiver. Oh, the one that you drafted in the first round and is on a second contract. Like, it's just like how far the Ravens have come in the wide receiver drafting department. Okay. That's number one. Then EDC sent a message to Jerry Jones by essentially saying,
no, I don't think so. Thanks, man.
One more time.
No, I don't think so. Thanks, man.
I didn't know you had that up your sleeve. That's funny.
I've got a zinger in me every now and then. But obviously, for those who are taking it seriously, that was not real footage of him talking to Jerry Jones. That was other war room footage. But that's what EDC said to Jerry Jones. Nah, we're good. And then so those were two statements. And then the final statement, yeah, nah. This is what I said immediately when I saw it. Rashod Bateman had a career-high 9 touchdowns last year. Do we know how hard it is to have 9 touchdowns in a single season? And on top of that, he had a 16.8 yards per catch average. Bobby, that's easily top 10, even when you include tight ends, even higher if it's just wide receivers. These stats are obviously regular season only. Many people are like, hey, he had 2 more touchdowns. That's in the playoffs, which is also a big deal to have 2 touchdown catches in 2 playoff games. The Ravens were 8-0 in games that he scored a touchdown last year. And then he's only $6.5 million on the cap this upcoming season in 2025. He's got the highest percentage of receptions for a first down or touchdown, number one in the league at 77.8%. 77.8% of his catches went for a first down or a touchdown. I can see why EDC said, nah, I'm good. And the conversations did not go far, according to that report.
What a world. What a world that we're living in. Yes. That Rashod Bateman is a coveted asset. I know it's taken a little bit longer than the majority of this fan base would have wanted, being that they spent first-round draft capital on him back in 2021. But between injuries, right, going between available and unavailable and other circumstances off the field, we just haven't been able to see up until this past season Rashod Bateman with his best foot forward. And now that he's here, it's just exciting to know that he is looked at clearly based on this report as somebody that is wanted because there have been plenty of times over the years where he has been unwanted by members of this fan base. And a lot of those feelings were warranted, Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
We get it. But he's proven a lot of people wrong, including myself, over the last year or so. So I'm excited for him. My hope for him, as I alluded to earlier on, is that he stacks and puts forth a similar, if not even better, statistical season than he did last year, and ultimately is rewarded for it and remains in Baltimore, gets a new deal, and continues to be a great wide receiver too. And when you talk about wide receiver too, Ken McCusick put him back-to-back with Pittsburgh's, no longer, but he would have been wide receiver too in Pittsburgh had he stayed behind DK Metcalf, and that is George Pickens, Sarah.
Well, what's crazy, just to your point a second ago, last year at this time, I hadn't given up on Bateman, but I wasn't ready to put all my eggs in that basket. Remember last year? And we were like, you got to have a third wide receiver. And it was because we didn't know if he was going to blossom, which he did. I just saw somebody in the chat calling him late bloom bait, which is totally accurate, right? But I remember being like, they need insurance in case he doesn't come through. And then even if he does come through, what if somebody gets injured? And that was supposed to be Deontay Johnson. We all know the story there. Now they have legit insurance in DeAndre Hopkins and even more than that. So it's crazy what 1 year can do for you in this league. But back to your point of setting up Ken McCusick, he says it's a legitimate debate whether George Pickens or Rashod Bateman is a better wide receiver right now, because obviously they didn't get Bateman. They went for him first. That didn't come through. They go for Pickens. I will compare their numbers from last year in just a second. But if you look at their contracts alone, Ken McCusick is saying there is no question that Bateman has the greater trade value. So a third rounder wouldn't have got it. You wouldn't get it done because you've got 2 years left on his contract at $10.8 million across both these years. Whereas Pickens is just a 1 year contract for 3.7. As we know, there's already been reports that they're not going to go ahead and do a new contract right now. Maybe they could later, or maybe he'll walk as a free agent. Okay. But his value for sure was greater than Pickens. Now let's look at these numbers. If you look at raw statistics, Bobby, well, George Pickens just had more volume. The Steelers didn't have, 2 Pro Bowl caliber tight ends. The Steelers didn't have Derrick Henry. The Steelers didn't have Lamar Jackson, who can, run at any point. The Steelers didn't have a number one receiver in Zay Flowers. And then finally you're getting to Bateman. They didn't have all that. So of course, Pickens is going to have more volume. He had 59 receptions, whereas Rashod Bateman had 45. Check out the difference in targets. Almost a 30 target difference. George Pickens had 103 targets. Rashod Bateman had 72. So with that, yes, Pickens had more yards at 900 to Bateman's 756. But look at the yards per reception. Okay, 15.3 for Pickens versus 16.8 for Bateman. And then on top of it, Bateman had those 9 touchdowns and Pickens only had 3. So Bateman did way more. And we saw he was number one in terms of turning those catches into first downs or touchdowns. Number one in the league. So Bateman did more with the targets he was given than Pickens did, without a doubt. Now Pickens, and this is why I am glad he's out of the AFC North, he did have 34 catches of 20 yards or more. Bateman had 21. So Bateman was last year was more durable. He had 17 games, whereas Pickens was dealing with what did he have? He had like some soft tissue issue in his leg. And so obviously Bateman durability has not been good over his career, but last year he finally had those 17 games. And once he had that and he was here for training camp and he could finally start getting that chemistry, boy, did he really take another step more than I mean, he hit exactly that 750 was what I thought could be his ceiling, given the other weapons in the offense. Would love to see a repeat of that, seeing as everybody else is returning again too.
Speaking of, durability, that again has not been something he can hang his hat on over his years in the NFL. Here's just a reminder of what he has dealt with. And it dates back to training camp of 2021. The groin injury set him back his rookie year. He placed on IR. He misses 5 games. That's difficult to endure during your rookie season when you're already drinking from the fire hose. So misses a ton of games then. All right. Fast forward to year 2. A year later, it's October of 2022. He re-injures the Liz Frank, gets surgery. Mm-hmm. He's 2 years into his career, Sarah, and barely been able to have any kind of foundation of gameplay, game reps. And then you fast forward to, 23, which was relatively healthy for him. He did have a hamstring issue, missed a game. And then last year, aside from, what flared up in the postseason, Rashod had a year of health where he stacked. Mm-hmm. And you saw as a result, you already mentioned his statistics a second ago with, a career high in touchdowns, over 700 yards receiving. We know the separation that he creates. We know the reliable route runner he is. I'm sure he'd want a couple of those reps back that he was on the wrong end of those interceptions, 2 of the 4 that Lamar threw. But Rashod is now making a case that when he is healthy, he's a bona fide number 2. And for his sake, I hope that continues. For the Ravens' sake, I hope that continues in 2025.
And what's crazy is that the Ravens' number 2 receiver had way more touchdowns than the Steelers' number 1 wide receiver. So we just showed both contract-wise, we showed production-wise based off of what he did with each target. He was better than Pickens. And then the last thing, it's like Bateman's a great locker room teammate. Throughout everything, his lows and the injuries, coming back, and then, OBJ getting targets over him, and Monken not being able to put him in. Like, Bateman's been a good teammate. He certainly isn't George Pickens in terms of being upset based off of targets. Like, Bateman's getting way fewer targets, doing more with those targets, never a peep in terms of complaint. And then when he got his second contract, it was all gratitude, right? There was that one tweet where he misunderstood what EDC was saying when he was saying, like, he was trying to take responsibility for not drafting better historically at the wide receiver position. And so I remember him doing that. But when you're doing that, you're also saying, okay, the guys I have inside aren't great. But at the time, Bateman was going through injury. So there was that. But Bateman deleted it quickly. Obviously, they were fine as they went back and had a great deal between the two of them in terms of the contract. And so it just seems like all around, like, and this is the last thing I'll say, this is hilarious to me. Matt Harmon of the Reception Perception, it's a whole website dedicated only on analyzing the wide receiver position. And you have to pay for a subscription. It's really good stuff. I paid for like a month and looked into it. I mean, this guy dedicates his life on just analyzing NFL wide receivers. And so when the news went through last Friday that first the Cowboys reached out to the Ravens about Rashod Bateman, Matt Harmon puts up a popular meme from, I'm forgetting his name, but he's a Portuguese soccer coach. And after a game, they were asking him a question. He's like, I really prefer not to speak. If I speak, I'm in big trouble. Big trouble. I don't want to be in trouble, so I don't want to speak. So that's what Matt Harmon puts in there. So one of his followers replies to that and says, I'll say it for you. Bateman is better than Pickens, or at least more well-rounded. Would have been absurd in that offense with increased targets, meaning in Dallas, he would have been absurd in Dallas. And Matt's like, puts out the meme of Michael Scott when he's trying to get people to be quiet. Like, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. But basically confirming that, yes, in his analysis too, Rashod Bateman's the better wide receiver.
All this dialogue about Rashod Bateman.
The Portuguese soccer fans, they know. His name is Jose Mourinho.
Nuno's got you covered. Good stuff.
Few people got me covered.
Awesome start to the week here. We've got over, Tila, 3,700 concurrents. I think it's going to be a good week. Thank you for being here. Please like the video if you haven't already done so. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Thank you, guys. Super chats roll on. Alan Craig writes, looking forward to getting over and experiencing the bank for the first time from Scotland and saw the Ravens in London. Alan, St. Andrews is on my bucket list. I have yet to do it. I have been to London, but I have not yet been to Scotland. I have been to Ireland as well, and several other parts throughout Europe, but Scotland is definitely on my bucket list. Sarah, have you been?
Scotland, yes.
You have?
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you go? Glasgow?
Edinburgh.
I
probably was in Glasgow also.
Yeah.
It was like a quick, because remember, we lived in Cambridge, England for a year. So when we were there, we took a gazillion trips all over Europe. So I think we did like a weekend in Scotland. Yeah.
Heck yeah. Alan, we're always open to your itinerary, Mr. Local.
But I have to say, on both my sides, my mom's side and my dad's side, the heritage is Scotland. And I kid you not, as I was walking around in Scotland, I felt like I was looking at like my mom's cousins. Like it was just like, holy moly, everybody here is like, it's got to be a distant relative to my mom. Like they all looked like my mom's cousins. I was like, this is crazy.
That's awesome. And I loved your note, by the way, on Grandma Sue, as I call her. That was super cool. And she's a great woman. So
what's funny is I knew she wasn't on Twitter, but of course my brothers were. So apparently yesterday at their Mother's Day dinner, they read it. And so she texted me at like 12:30 a.m., which was 10:30 p.m. their time. And she definitely liked it. So,
well, I'm sure she did because it was beautifully written. And I think from the little that I know of her, summarized her really, really well. And she does tend to watch. So Grandma Sue, if you're out there, happy belated Mother's Day to you. Can't wait to meet you in person one day.
Yeah. And real quick, the chat saying I've got some William Wallace in me, maybe. We did tour the castle. And I can't remember what William Wallace, I don't know if he lived there or what it was, but now, because it's been like 10, 15 years, but I do remember being at a William Wallace castle.
Sick. So. Add it to the list. Asmodeus checking in. Richard's in the house.
He says, I personally believe the Ravens need as much cold/inclement weather games as possible in the regular season. Can't be scared and need to overcome it.
Cortez Clark Lacey, Voltrons Unite with a bunch of ignition emojis. Appreciate it, Cortez. Thanks for being here. I haven't seen your name before in the super chat section. So thanks for love, Cortez. Rave Kingdom, a channel member, checking in.
The best, and I don't know, maybe if Bobby cut that stash, he's referring to people saying that we're the best podcast in the business. Bobby's mustache is holding us back. That's all it takes.
Hey, that could easily be fixed. I think my mom will literally slit my throat if I show up at the graduation photos with this mustache. So,
oh no, definitely keep it. I feel like the mustache takes us up a notch. That's fine. Cut it for mom in the graduation, but grow it back. We'll here for the stash.
Once I get my haircut this week, I'm gonna leave it and see what it looks like and see if I like it. And then if I don't, I'll just ditch it. Stay tuned. Either way, it's gonna garner some reaction from mom.
I generally prefer men with facial hair than not. Not in all cases, but generally speaking.
That's because Trevor pulls it off well.
It just makes everybody more manly.
Asmodeus says, I'm going to Lambeau as well. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be at Lambeau. Take it over, Flock. Take it over. I have friends there. Richard says, maybe I'll be there with B more. We'll have to see. But that is absolutely a place that it's just, I just remember seeing the content last year when they did the joint practice there and riding the bikes in. I mean, it's an iconic venue. It's what a storied place. I would love to go. Benjamin Holland with an orange banner. That means 20.
Ooh, orange says the opponents are decided in advance. This year, the first place schedule was AFC West on the road and NFC West at home. Bills are road because this year we are playing AFC East this year. KC can come to Baltimore in 2026.
Dre Dog 679. What's up, brother? Congratulations, I guess. No more hashtag Bobby SC. Here's the beauty of it. No. The recruiting continues. Because I am using an app called Furnished Finder. Again, I Totally glossed over it earlier just because I wanted to make sure we were staying on time. But I'm using a furnished finder app, meaning this place that I found in St. Pete, it's a short-term rental and it's fully furnished. So I'm putting all my stuff in storage here. And if things don't go well, or I feel like it's best for me to be here, I'll be back in Baltimore.
So basically the message to Dre Dog is just start a new hashtag that says Bobby SC 2026.
That's what it would be.
Yeah.
I can tell everyone with confidence that I will be in St. Pete for football season beginning September 1st that runs through the year. And then after that, we'll see. We'll see. Appreciate the enthusiasm, Dre. He's a big SC. He's recruiting me hard for SC. And Omni King says no longer Bobby Baltimore, Bobby St. Pete. The branding will stay as is for now. We'll make adjustments as needed. Got a lot of reflecting to do, a lot of thinking to do. And Tim Hughes, Sarah, just became a channel member of ours. Our new goal, by the way, is 150. We're at 110. I believe we're now at 111. So thank you, Tim. And if you guys are interested in becoming an official channel member, an official Voltron, you can visit the show notes where there's a direct link. You can just press join, depending on if you're on the desktop or mobile device, or you can just go to that pinned comment that we have right now in the live chat, and it'll show you what we have available to you. It's a great way to give back to the channel and get something in return as well. So there's been plenty of turnover, Sarah, in the special teams department. There's been plenty of change. There's been plenty of dialogue. It's even garnered national attention. The latest change, the latest change perhaps has gone under the radar here a little bit, and you were doing your morning reading on The Athletic, courtesy of our friend, Jeff Zaribek, and you were rather surprised, as am I, to hear the latest news.
I don't want to say like sort of under the radar, like completely under the radar. I did not know this, but Jeff Zaribek, as you said on The Athletic this morning, had a column where I think at the end he has 10 points. Here's point number 5. He says, the Ravens don't traditionally announce coaching departures, but I've confirmed that former assistant special teams coach Sam Cook is no longer on John Harbaugh's staff. Cook, who punted 16 seasons for the Ravens and then went into coaching following his retirement in 2022, had been working primarily with young punter Jordan Stout. He goes on to say that the Ravens did bring in another former player in Anthony Levine Sr. in an assistant special teams coach role. And now, obviously, he would do it differently. Anthony Levine probably on those cover teams. So there is Anthony Levine there. Jeff Zaribek goes on to write, Brown works primarily with the kickers and punters, meaning Randy Brown. He says Cook was extremely close with Tucker, but Cook's departure was finalized earlier this offseason, long before Tucker was released. So, Bobby, when I said this to you on the pre-call today, for the first time you heard it, what was your reaction to hear that Sam Cook is no longer and he's been gone for a couple months, apparently?
Yeah, really surprising. One that I think the Ravens got worse due to this. Will that be seen on the field? I have no idea. But Sam is a lifelong Raven. He's somebody that obviously, to this graphics credit right here, is a lifetime Raven. The guy's a legendary Raven, matter of fact. And was a key member, of course, of the Wolfpack with Morgan and Justin for all those years. So the first feeling I had, the first sentiment is just surprise. And then it goes to, dang, that's a big loss for them, just in terms of the wisdom, the technique, the voice, the mentorship that he has given Jordan in his sort of early years here in that transition. But then I go to Sam, the family man, and I don't know anything, to be honest with you. You and I didn't. This is the first we're learning of it this morning.
Right.
So I don't know what led to this decision. But where I start to brainstorm is that Sam is a family man through and through. And I believe he still lives in the Westminster area. And he's got a bunch of sons that are all heavily involved in sports. And he, too, is a very present father. Remember catching up with him on this many times back when I was in radio and had the pleasure of interviewing him. He is a class act. He's a fantastic athlete, as so many of us watched when he would throw the football from time to time as the most accurate passer in the history of the league at one point. Well, how many attempts was it, though? Not many. But so that's where I go. My
Yeah.
hope is that this was his decision. My hope is that this was simply to be around his family more. But the overarching takeaway for me is that the Ravens just got worse because of this.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm with you in terms of like it being surprising. I did not know it happened, especially since it happened several months ago. I also don't know what happened. Is it just that, he tried coaching for a year and he didn't quite like it, or he wanted to spend more time with family? Because coaching is a very demanding occupation. I don't know if it is if you're only working with a punter though. So I don't know what his demands were on his time. So we can speculate all day long. However, I'll say this is where I veer from you. When you say the Ravens got worse because of it, I can confidently say the Ravens got worse when he retired as a player. He was hands down one of the best punters in the league, certainly in Ravens history, but I don't know how he was as a coach. I don't know that a lot of times, like I just think of like math teachers, right? Sometimes the best math teachers are the ones that struggled doing math and they had to learn how to do it piece by piece. It didn't come natural to them. And so they were able to coach it. Sam Cook was a natural at the punting position and a lot of other stuff. He was just an athlete. If you talk to guys inside the building, it was crazy how athletic Sam Cook was. Was he a good coach? I don't know. I haven't heard that he was a great coach. What I do know is that Jordan Stout hasn't been great, especially as a draft pick. And so I went over to PFF this morning and I looked at his 2024 grade, which, they put together. They do this by watching film. They're not perfect, but I think it's better than just raw stats of like, your punt average, because who cares? Like, I don't care how far the punt goes. Sometimes you need it to be shorter to pin them at the 1 yard line. Right. And so, but they had a 63.9 grade for him in 2024, which ranked 24th in the league. It's not the worst, but you're not even in the top half of the league. And then you can break it down a little bit more. Some of the stats that mean something to me. I don't care what his long is. I don't care what his punt gross average is. I don't care how many punts he had. None of that matters to me because it's not really saying anything about how good he is. What matters is how many times did you pin somebody inside the 20-yard line? Okay. 23 times. That ranked 23rd in the league. Now, he may not have had a lot of chances. Again, he only had 55 punts, which is 22nd, which is good because the offense regularly scored. I didn't need to see Sam Cook as often. But what about his return percentage? You don't want to see guys returning it. You want to have them in a place where, they're not going to return. The coverage team matters too, obviously, but it's a 38.2%, 31st in the league in return percent. And then what about his hang time? Hang time matters because it's how much time are you giving your coverage unit to get down there? Well, he's 9th. Fair catches, he's 16th in the league. So I don't think that Jordan Stout is like, this horrible punter, but he's not great. And so just like you, I don't know why he left. Could have been because of family. I don't think it'd be because of Tucker, because this happened early in the season. And when the allegations first came out, ADC made it sound like, we're going to wait and see, and then he changed his mind once Loop was drafted. And so I don't know if it's because of Tucker. I don't know if it's because of family, or could it be that they just didn't feel like he was a great coach and that, everything that he did during his entire playing career wasn't rubbing off on Jordan Stout. Maybe that's Jordan Stout's fault. Maybe that's Sam Cook's fault. But I can say to you, the punting wasn't great in Baltimore over the last year as when he was serving as the punting coach, essentially.
Certainly. Yeah, Jordan's been below average. I mean, the numbers suggest it, unfortunately. So that's the reality. The other piece of reality is that we're speculating, obviously, in terms of what could have led to this departure. What I mean by getting worse is I have no idea if there's a correlation between, and you don't either, right? I mean, we've said it a couple times now in terms of being under Sam's tutelage and these numbers right here. No idea if there's a correlation. Didn't
seem to help.
We will figure it out. we will figure that out this coming fall if there was a correlation. What I mean by get worse is just simply from having that kind of experience in the building to pick his brain, to lean on, things of that nature. So, again, will that be seen on the field? Time will tell. But this was definitely news that came as a surprise.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, over the weekend, there was this post on Instagram from Ravens Flock 410. And it's posting a picture. Now, some people are claiming this is an old picture, and that's not what they're indicating here. It posted a picture of Justin Tucker practicing on his own. The caption says, Justin Tucker was spotted at Northwest Regional Park in Owings Mills working out after being cut by the Ravens. So this account is saying that it was indeed after he was cut. And so they've got hashtag Justin Tucker, hashtag working. And so that started making the rounds. So if this is indeed from this weekend, and he has been known to work out, around town in the past, it looks like, he's not giving up. He wants to, I'm sure, make it back into the NFL as he awaits the results of the investigation that the NFL is putting on. I believe he does have a house there in Baltimore, right, Bobby?
He does.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a mainstay since 2012, so it would only make sense. So this is after he was cut, which was just announced last week, and he, I'm sure, wants to revitalize his career and his reputation.
Yeah, I had heard some rumblings a while back that maybe he was starting the process of a move, but just not sure how credible those are. So, we'll have to see what his, if I'm him, gosh, in a town like this, now that you're cut, I'd be popping out of here as soon as possible. I mean, how can you live on a day-to-day basis and do things, without getting spotted like that? if this is this, right? You're having
unless you just feel like you're innocent, as he's asserted, and you're like, sure, I'm not going to let this make me go underground, right? Like sure. If he feels like he's innocent, and we don't know the results of the investigation, there's obviously nothing that can happen criminally or in the civil suit area because it's past the statute of limitations. But if you feel like you're innocent, like you're like, no, I'm not going underground. There's no reason to hang my head. So
sure.
Yeah.
You get that too, boy. But regardless, that requires some mental fortitude. Man, I mean, this is a small place as it is, Sarah. As you know, you lived here for a number of years, and I've been here for 10 plus too. And
especially in Owings Mills.
You were exactly, especially downtown. I mean, I feel like Baltimore takes new meaning every single year that I stay here. It's just, it really is something. So that was that. And this is this. Lamar getting Preakness week started early, Sarah.
Yeah, he's a little bit early, but after you read about it, you understand why. But here's a headline from the Baltimore Sun. I got a video coming up in just a second that he hosted a day of horse racing fun and charity at the Pimlico Race Course. So obviously the 150th Preakness stakes are still forthcoming. But this last weekend, the National Thoroughbred League began its 2025 season at Pimlico Race Course. And so just for those who don't know, which was for sure me, the National Thoroughbred League, ATL, is a 10-team thoroughbred racing league entering its third season. And it brings in teams from, all over the country. And Lamar Jackson is the lead owner over the Maryland Colts. I think we had that news. Was it last year or the year before? But he took them over. So on Saturday, Lamar served as the host for 3 NTL races, each of them worth up to $75,000 in purse money, which is a lot, but horses cost a lot. So I don't know if it's, covers all those horses and those things there, the costs that come with it. And so the Baltimore Sun explained that Jackson became involved in the organization to help launch the Forever Dreamers 8 scholarship program, which is a fully funded apprenticeship that gives high school seniors in Park Heights a chance to work in Maryland's thoroughbred industry. So a cohort of 8 high schoolers, obviously in honor of Lamar Jackson's number 8, will spend their senior year working various jobs that include horse training, veterinarian duties, and sales work, which also has the backing of Governor Wes Moore and his wife, Dawn. So Lamar was there. They had a hippity hop race, and the winner of that got to meet Lamar. And here's a video, courtesy of Ravens Productions, of some of what he was doing. I know that he's signing some jerseys there with some of the young kids, trying to promote horse racing for a new generation. There he is with Governor Wes Moore, who is also a proponent of the stuff there. Look at the kids there getting to, play games, meet ponies, and face painting, petting zoo, all of that. So good for Lamar, owner of the Maryland Colts, hosting that over the weekend.
Yeah, it seemed like it was really well attended. The governor who you just mentioned was in attendance as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it did bring me back to the article from maybe his rookie year or sophomore year or whenever it was. Her name escapes me. I think she was a columnist for the Baltimore Sun at the time. And she took issue with how Lamar didn't do enough philanthropically here in town, as if to say he's only doing it back home in South Florida, where we all know he does an incredible amount of community work every single year. Well, is this enough? And this is great. This is not all he does either. So
right.
Cool attendance for him. A lot of those videos that you just put up there. There were plenty of other content as well that I saw on my timeline. Everybody was just thrilled to see him. And anytime he is in Baltimore in the offseason, it's special when there's not something that requires him to be there from a football perspective. Because he does spend a majority of his offseason down in South Florida.
And he has the right to do that. It's where he's from.
Absolutely.
It's where he grew up. Like, if he wants to go to Florida, he can go to Florida. I'm just not a big fan of when people criticize your giving, right? Like the type of giving.
Yeah.
It's just like, find something that speaks to you to give back, right? And so, like, if you give back to Loyola, because that's where you went to college, or if you were to go give back to your high school, or if you just have, if you have somebody who was affected by a certain type of cancer or diabetes or whatever, it's something that touches you in your life, and you see a need and you give back. And why you criticize that it should be there or here or that, I'm just not a big fan.
Couldn't agree more. You brought this one in.
Yeah, another one from Jeff Zrebeck's column this morning. The Ravens have not announced who may have made the team from their rookie undrafted free agent tryouts, which they tried out during the Ravens rookie drafted minicamp. But we do know a couple of things that were announced outside of that. So Louisiana Lafayette football program announced that their cornerback, Kenyon Martin, signed with the Ravens. And he did work out and try out for the Ravens during that mini camp. So it sounds like if this football program is correct, that this will be a cornerback that they're signing.
And we had Martin last week from, I'm just forgetting who we had. So but now it's even more official than it was last week.
Yeah. Then remember we talked about Nash Hutmaker from Nebraska, the defensive tackle who's been like a South Dakota, I think it's South Dakota or North Dakota wrestler. Seems like he didn't make the team because the Tampa Bay Bucks announced that they signed him.
Okay.
Which is interesting because obviously the Ravens still need some run stuffing big dudes down there that can replace Michael Pierce. So far they have not. Bobby, they have 86 players on the roster. You're allowed up to 90 during the offseason. So maybe at some point this week, the Ravens will announce any other people that they may be signing for those 4 spots.
Yeah, I believe they have at least one defensive tackle on their undrafted rookie 17 player roster as well that came out. But yeah, Nash became kind of a quick fan favorite before anybody really got a good look at him just because of his background, his position, and of course the need as well. And what I mean by background is what you walked us through last week with that wrestling. He's a stud. He's a total stud.
And speaking of Michael Pierce, Jeff was saying, that remember EDC didn't sugarcoat that they do need an interior run stuffer. Jeff is saying the list of interior defensive linemen available in free agency is neither long nor impressive, he says. Some of the more notable names are John Jenkins, Linval Joseph, Raekwon Davis, and Montravius Adams. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. But listen, there's always last minute signings like a Jadeveon Clowney, for example, that can happen in training camp or whatever. So sure, the Ravens have not given up on that. And really, they just need a rotational guy in there for those early downs when you feel like they're running. So it doesn't need to be a guy that's, down there for 3 downs, not needed. And they do have other guys in the room, obviously, but I still think they will be signing a free agent probably at this position.
As do I. What else you got here on Lamar from his Hollywood?
Just to follow up, obviously last week we played, which was really one of our highest viewed videos, which is hilarious to me. We played a small snippet of Lamar as E-Tone on Raising Kanan. And so People Magazine got an interview with Lamar. He said that he definitely wants to pursue a career in acting after his career. He also said, he also threw in there, he's like, and in the offseason, I'll do some more in the offseason. So like we said, I felt like he was believable. I feel like he could definitely have a career in acting. So he's all for that. He said that his teammates started calling him E-Tone. He's like, chill out on that. Didn't seem to really be a big fan of that. But last thing is he didn't even know what his character would be doing. Bobby, we didn't play it, and I'm sad to say I saw it. Like, this is not my type of entertainment. And listen, we've given you a whole weekend to know what happens, but his character does end up killing somebody. Very gory kind of situation there that I wish I did not see. And he says, quote, I was really shocked with that part. When they told me, when I got to the dressing room, they were like, you know what you're going to be doing. And he says, I'm like, nah, no one told me anything yet. They were like, yeah, you're going to be killing a guy at the club. I'm like, what? I hope the world doesn't think anything different of me, Lamar said, but it is what it is. We're just acting. It's just fun. So yeah, he didn't know what E-Tone was going to be doing until he got there. It's kind of crazy.
Sir, he may not be the villain around these parts or the parts of South Florida, but there are 30, 31, 29, whatever it is, other markets around the league that he is absolutely viewed as the villain, not because they don't like him, but because they can't freaking stop him.
Yeah. And you know what, Bobby? It's a very good point. Very good point. But I'm actually kicking myself because remember when we had Emmanuel Ocho on the show and he was explaining about the backlash he was getting?
Mm-hmm.
He used some words that YouTube picked up on. And so we got demonetized. I wish I did not just say the KILLING word. I'm hoping that YouTube doesn't demonetize us for that.
That is still insane to me.
Yeah.
They had the material in place
to do that. Yeah.
The system in place to flag that is beyond me.
And that was a killer because that was one of our highest viewed videos of like the year.
No doubt. It was a great get.
Yeah. And we got demonetized for it. So
unbelievable.
I got to remember that in the future.
We will hold out hope in the meantime. This was, I don't know about a surprise, just due to his shoulder issue and how much this has been online right now in recent weeks with Derek Carr, but he's retiring as the quarterback of the Saints. So now that puts the Louisville second rounder that they selected, Tyler Shuck, you would think, in pole position there to be the starter for the Saints. But all around good guys there. All around good guy. Derek Carr's a great dude. Unfortunately, wasn't able to win the big one. I think he had, if memory serves, 2016, he finished third in MVP voting. Had a career year back then. Spent some time with the Vegas Raiders, of course. And now at 34, he's calling it a career after 11 seasons.
Yeah, he was a likable guy. Obviously loved his faith. It would not surprise me if the New Orleans Saints make a trade with the Browns come training camp or something like that with the Browns' plethora of quarterbacks. Maybe the Saints are going to want to get one more in there because who else do they have?
Well, Spencer Rattler, who they've already seen, and then another young player whose name escapes me right now. So, yeah, they're in a position where you probably want some insurance there for Shuck, if that's the player that you want to build around. I mean, you got to get a good look at him at some point. You've already gotten a look at Rattler. Now Derek's gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bummer. I often think about how much of a masterclass of just humility and leadership he put on towards the end of his time in Vegas, with all the change, with all the remember the Henry Ruggs situation with the DUI that ended up killing a woman and her dog. And I just thought the leadership that Derek displayed when he was the quarterback, the face of that franchise at the time, was nothing short of exceptional. So wish him the best. Derek Carr retires. This was a great quick hit right here. I saw this as well. I loved this quick hit from Sandy Combs, who is what's the airport? What's the airline? A United Airlines traveler. And it looks like economy here that she was flying recently, as was Travis Hunter. And she wrote, I had the most wonderful flight home from Denver. I love the way that she wrote this too.
And this is just on Facebook or something, right? Or
Facebook
Instagram?
Post went viral. Somebody snagged it off of Facebook. It since went viral. This is about Travis Hunter, of course, who went 2 overall to Jacksonville after they traded up to go get him. And Sandy writes, older woman for audio-only audience. I had the most wonderful flight home from Denver. I met the nicest young man who sat next to me. He offered to put my bag in the overhead compartment and help me with my tray. He was always polite, saying yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am. Anyone would be proud to have him as a son or grandson. So polite. People walking by were saying, congratulations, great job, or even taking pictures. I turned and asked him, who am I sitting next to? I looked at his Jaguar pants, smiled, and asked, are you an athlete? He smiled and said, yes, I'm Travis. Yes, I was drafted by the Jags. I already told my sons I want his jersey. He's so humble and down to earth. I would have never guessed he was a professional athlete. Jacksonville Jags, you did good. I will be buying tickets. United Airlines, thank you for my seat assignment. If this doesn't make your freaking day right here, I don't know what does. I'm just smiling ear to ear reading it.
It really was fun to read. And I got to tell you, it like reopened wounds of Browns fans out here in Ohio, because they were already upset that the Browns traded away what could become a generational player for, a stout defensive tackle. But I saw them quote retweeting this and be like, how could we do this? Not only is he like perhaps a generational player, but like apparently the nicest dude on walking around the airports,
That's
and
awesome.
so it just reopened all their wounds who didn't want the Browns to trade back.
It's awesome. The only thing I can speak to this on, just having visited, a few weeks back during Easter weekend, the campus of CU Boulder. I have a really good friend that I used to work the Olympics with, who's a professor and heads up the TEDx program at CU in the communications department. And Sarah, I don't know if I told you this, but he used to co-instruct a class with Coach Prime. And as a result, he's gotten to know a lot of these guys, and everything that this woman is speaking to is exactly what Michael, his name's Michael Burns, has told me about Travis Hunter and just how freaking selfless he is.
That's
so
awesome.
Super cool. Awesome campus, by the way. Incredible in the valley of Boulder. And that now brings us to a couple Cincinnati quick hits. I just threw this in there if you're wondering why, because it just broke a short while ago. And that is Trey Hendrickson, disgruntled to say the very least, Sarah, in this ongoing, really what's become a standoff between he and his representation and the Cincinnati Bengals. Here's the statement that he issued to ESPN. Quote, no communication has taken place between my camp and the organization post-draft. The offers prior to the draft did not reflect the vision we shared and were promised last offseason. And if I continue to play at a high level, which he did, of course, he's the reigning sack getter. Coaches are aware of these past conversations. Rather than using collaboration to get us to a point to bring me home to the team, they are no longer communicating. I have been eagerly awaiting a resolution of this situation, but that's hard to do when there is no discussion and an evident lack of interest in reaching mutual goals. Grab your popcorn.
He's trying to put the pressure on. I just heard you, Tilly.
Baby. Wow. Look out.
Tilly's reacting to the news live.
Tilly T's getting restless. She wants to go to Patterson Park. You're going to have to wait, good little ghoul.
Listen, I've seen enough of these contract negotiations going all the way back to Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs. We just saw Myles Garrett, Lamar Jackson. I mean, big star after big star. What about in San Francisco? Just like nonstop with their wide receiver, Brandon Ayuk. It just goes on and on. Listen, there's a chance that people's feelings really are hurt, but I wait to see that evidence, because more times than not, this is contract negotiations in the public. No hard feelings. We got to do what we got to do, but we got to come out looking angry. We got to come out looking like we're going to leave. We're going to come out looking like we're demanding trades, but like all of that to let the league know, hey, I'm available. Let's get the price going. Let's see if we can get something moving. Can somebody show that my market is higher than what they think it is and that it's more, what we think it is? So, listen, if they end up getting a deal, it's going to be no skin off Hendrickson's back. They're going to come back. They're all going to be, fighting together and trying to become the new AFC North division champs and more. So would I love to just, enjoy what's going on and think that things are just falling apart in Cincy? Man, did I learn my lesson again with Myles Garrett when he made it seem like I'm not returning. We talked. I want out of here. Get me a trade. And then like 2 weeks later, I'm back. It's all good. I see the vision. I want to go from here to Canton, this and that. And so contracts change everything. But until they actually get a contract, then his future is uncertain, which is good in Baltimore. But I'm not convinced that they're like, gonna like ruin their relationship.
It's well said. I think it's a wise take, but it doesn't take away from the drama and theater going on.
Bobby, drama loves it.
In division. And that continued over the weekend at Bengals rookie minicamp. One more quick hit before we wrap up the Cincy discussion and the show itself. Shamar Stewart, their first round pick at 17th overall. The pass rusher that combined for 4.5 total sacks during his time at Texas A&M over 3 seasons, decided to sit out drills during minicamp because he has not yet finalized his rookie contract, something that is in his right, Sarah, to do. But at the same time, Bengals fans and NFL fans around the country were weighing in with their opinions.
For sure. I was actually asked my opinion on it myself on Twitter from a Ravens fan. And this is another one that I don't think is a major deal at this point in time. We do know that the Ravens' top 2 draft picks, Malachi Starks and Mike Green, also have not signed their contracts. And you might ask why in today's rookie pay scale, where like there's no changing how much money you're going to get. But when you get paid and guaranteed money and all that is up for negotiations. So I'm assuming that's what's happening in Baltimore. I'm assuming that's also what's happening in Cincinnati. That being said, Malachi Starks and Mike Green didn't sit out. So Shamar Stewart doesn't want to put his body on the line for his team quite yet. And so he took an extra step. But sitting here in May, listen, do they want their rookie to be participating? Yes. And he was there. He was watching. He's in the meeting rooms. I don't think this one is the end of the world either for Cincinnati. And I'm guessing that all these kind of like first and maybe some second rounders, it's all going to fall into place. Like they're going to, one team will be like, look what he got. This is what they're doing. We're, around the same time drafted. Let's do something similar. And so it'll all get worked out. All these rookies are going to get signed. But he did miss some on-field work, and that's not nothing, but I also don't think it's the end of the world for Cincinnati.
Super chats before we jump out of here, and some patrons as well. I think it was just one that D-Rod gave us a short while ago. He's a channel member as well. And he wrote, Lamar said in an interview with GQ Mag that people in Baltimore would try and take advantage off his kindness when he would try and do something. That is true. And you, Daniel, just reminded me of that comment. I believe that came out right before the season, right? Was it leading into week 1 last year? I think that was the case.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. And you wonder what the context is to all that. Who was taking advantage or who made Lamar feel like that?
Oh, I'm sure all NFL players feel that.
Sure.
I won't go down this rabbit hole, but I was just listening to a podcast about this mentality. It's called like the what was it called? The parasitical, basically people acting like parasites, and they latch on to good things, whether it's like science or, for me, faith and religion, or football players making money or whatever. And then people try to latch onto it and take from, anyway. I'm not even qualified to speak on it, but I guarantee all football players have felt this way.
I see it from time to time with Lamar's Instagram stories, putting, reading the tea leaves, putting 2 and 2 together in terms of like, oh, you weren't there for me then, but now you're trying to be around. Yeah. So I'm sure when you hit it to the nth degree and the 1%ers of the world in your profession, the way that Lamar has, it's got to be tenfold.
Mm-hmm.
So Let's shout out our patrons and jump. Jason Zarotniak and Mark Pankhurst, thank you both for believing in what we're building. This is your monthly shout out because of the support that you give us through Patreon. If you guys are interested in doing the same, you want to become part of the Vault Patreon community like Jason and Mark are, just visit patreon.com/RavensVault podcast. We appreciate you, Jason. We appreciate you, Mark.
Two things real quick. I did not just make up a word. It's coming from the word parasite. But now that I've been challenged, I'm coming back and I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. I was going to say parasitical behavior, but I couldn't remember the last word. But it obviously derives from the word parasite. Real quick, Bobby, should we enlighten them before we jump? My phone call to you Friday in terms of Kyle Van Noy?
Oh, yeah, sure. Go right ahead.
Okay. So on Friday, it was our Friday show, right? That we talked about when Kyle Van Noy, or maybe it was our Thursday show. I can't remember. But Kyle Van Noy on NFL Live was asked about Lamar Jackson and stuff. And anyway, we both were like, nothing really to see here, but fun to watch, right? In terms of him challenging Lamar Jackson. We said we like people being able to challenge Lamar. We like Lamar being able to challenge his teammates, all that kind of stuff. And then we showed the top 5 toughest QBs. And I was like, I wish that he would just give a genuine list, because by saying that he didn't give Lamar, put Lamar in the top 5, he said that he didn't want to give him too much credit. And so I was like, come on, man, but you put up, 2 of his biggest rivals in Joe Burrow and Josh Allen up there, but we were both like, but still nothing really to see, right? So anyway, yes, I was just about to pull this up. He, on Friday, I believe, started getting flack from Ravens fans. Here, let me share mine so I can show you. Here, I've already got it teed up to where he interacted with my tweet. Oh, you got it right there. So Friday, he says, "No way y'all took this list like gospel, right? Ain't no way. LJ on my team, you slaps," is what he calls them. And so I'm like, is Kyle Van Noy like responding to Ravens fans? Like some of them are saying, "Get off my team," all this kind of stuff. Or I was like, is he calling me a slap? And quite frankly, I don't even know what that means. And so I call you up on your way to go get, fitted for a suit. And I'm like, what's your interpretation? Should I like not respond? Should I respond? Like, I can't tell if he's coming after me or the people who are coming after him. Because I felt like I had a very fair tweet. Like I literally just put up the facts. I put up the video for everybody to watch. And I purposely pointed out that he said, with a smile, I don't want to give him too much credit, which to me meant, I don't know that this is totally, his genuine list. So you're like, yeah, you're like, don't respond. Don't respond. I don't really think it's you. And I'm like, okay, cool. So then somebody else says, we call this engagement farming, Kyle, ignore them. And he says, oh, I know this ain't my first rodeo. It's also the off season. I'm like, so now am I engagement farming? Because if I am, then everything is engagement farming, right? Because it's not like I took it out of context. It's not like I was trying to twist his words. Like I'm sharing what ESPN had on there. So then somebody else, and I still don't respond. I'm like, I hope he's not, I don't think he's coming after me because I still don't think I've done anything wrong. And I would say my bad if I felt like I did. So somebody named MD comes in and says, Sarah is actually legit and not farming. She was just sharing your segment. They have mad love for you on the podcast. And then MD tries to book him for us. MD says, Ravens fans would love to have you as a guest. So then Kyle finally clarifies. He says, oh yeah, I wasn't talking about I was talking about the comments, not to her. So then I respond, finally, having that clarity. I'm like, good to know. I was like, and then put up the classic GIF of 50 Cent being like, why are you saying F me for? Like, I wasn't like calling for your resignation or anything like that. So I'm glad that we got that cleared up. I was like, is he calling me a slap? Whatever that is. So anyway.
And I'm on the other end saying, Sarah, I got nothing for you. All I got for you on the slap. Well, I got nothing for you on slaps. But what I do have for you is that my interpretation, as you mentioned a minute ago, is that he's not coming after you. Mm-hmm. And so luckily,
I'm glad he clarified that. Yeah.
Yeah. Luckily that was the case. That was not the case, that he was not coming after you.
Yeah.
And I had a little bit of fun with this as well on Saturday. I did a little Saturday live stream in response to Rashod. And I just got on the show and was like, hey, I love Kyle. Run into him several times. Good dude, Radio Row, in town, whatever. you're going to get up there and do that post-retirement career, though, you got
to be ready.
People are going to be coming after you. They're going to be coming after you from all angles, and I think he's getting a little taste of that.
And I do feel like if he's going to troll Lamar a little bit, which is what I think he was kind of doing by not being, he was saying he was joking, that it wasn't like gospel and all that. So he's probably like playing with his teammate a little bit. Then you got to be ready for, he's social media savvy, right? Like, because Allen's up there and Burrow's out there, and like how on these types of shows like NFL Live or First Take or any number of these, they're constantly comparing Lamar and Allen and this and that. And so fans are just going to want you not to be joking on a big platform and just have your quarterbacks back. And so if he didn't want to do that, that's fine. And like, that's fine to say that you're joking, but just also know that like Lamar truthers are going to be coming after you. It comes with the job for sure.
Kobe Pruitt, back to Super Chats. I'm glad you revisited that because that was good from Friday. I did not know why you were calling me at post 5 o'clock on a Friday, which is very unusual.
It's very rare. Yeah.
Which, what are you going to do? Kobe Pruitt, your mind goes everywhere. I mean, it's like, okay, did somebody die? Did we just get a massive guest? Do I need to stop what I'm doing right now and go on the show? Like, what's happening?
Right.
Kobe Pruitt, sign Clowney and then pick between Tavius, Isaac, Adisa, and Ajabo, David. Clowney removes a question mark that these three represent.
Well, even without Clowney, I'll just say this. Ojabo is going to be fighting for his life, even if Clowney isn't signed.
Absolutely.
Then when it comes between Tavius Robinson and Isaac, Tavius is for sure your guy because he can seal the edge. He's the best at it in the outside linebacker group. Now, Isaac, he would still be, if Clowney's there, Isaac could be cut. Do you want to really risk losing? You could try to put him on the practice squad. You can only have so many times that you can protect him. Then you'd be risk losing. He's a third rounder. Was he a third rounder?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. And he was injured last year. So it's tough to know what the Ravens even have in him. So, or you could keep 6 outside linebackers, but then you're for sure going to be light somewhere else. So anyway, I'm not against Clowney. I'm just saying, I think Ajabo's already in trouble, but then Isaac becomes in trouble.
He was a third rounder, so out of Penn State last year. But yeah, they got to see what they have in him. Let's see, he has a horrid summer.
What I'm saying. Wait till you get to training camp and see what you got.
But Tavius, no question, a lock.
Yeah,
total.
If they did sign Clowney, by the way, that would tell you that they don't have a lot of faith in Isaac.
No doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt. What's RNTY1 standing corrected on?
I stand corrected. My bad, Sarah.
Did you see what he was referring to earlier on in the chat? Because I didn't.
Well, was there a super chat from him earlier?
And this was 5 minutes ago. So this was the first chat that we got from him.
I don't know. I wasn't looking at the chat.
You could clarify that in the chat, RNTY1, if you could. I have Horace Torres says, Sarah, you wanted Stewart or wanted the Ravens to get him over Mike Green. Do you feel the same now?
I never said that. In fact, people are like, this is hilarious to me. And Torres is a great member, so I'm not upset with him. But I'm like shocked by how many times people attribute quotes to us that like I've never said. And it's more like what people have said out there. And then it's like all of a sudden I said it. Yeah, I remember getting this is how it went down. When we first heard about Shamar Stewart and I was reading his stats, I was like, this sounds like another Odafe Owe. And I was like, I don't know if I am feeling good about this. Then he went to the combine and he had great, numbers and everybody was loving him. And I was like, this is funny because I was just ripping him last week, but he's got all the measurables. But never did I say, because I don't even remember us discussing Mike Green, because I don't even think that we were, was he even on our radar? Did we even discuss him much?
Not on this show, not that much.
No. And so like saying I wanted him over Mike Green, that never happened. Go and find that and bring it to me. That is never happened where I said, yeah, Shamar Stewart over Mike Green.
Torres might be going to find receipts. I don't remember it. I don't. The only thing that I could think about was like well early on where we were complimentary of him.
He's saying exactly Mike Green wasn't on your radar. Exactly. So how could I have said that I wanted Shamar Stewart over him? That never happened. And Mike Green wasn't on our radar because A, I didn't think he'd fall to us. And B, if he did, I didn't think the Ravens would take him given, the allegations. But they did their homework. So definitely putting words in my mouth here, Taurus.
Oh man, if you knew Taurus personally, you'd know that he likes to have a little bit of fun too. It wouldn't surprise me if he maybe knows in the back of his mind that you didn't say that, but he's just trying to get you going a little bit in the form of a super chat.
A little bit here, okay?
Maybe,
all right,
maybe. Evan is correct that certainly Chris Sims, who I had on my personal channel, was very high praising of Shamar.
Yes, I remember that. And I remember also being like, I don't know though, Chris. Like, we've been through that. There's a lot of trauma here. He talked about that Shamar Stewart was like the F the play up guy.
F the play up. Yeah. And I said, wait, say that again? F the play up. F the play up. All right, everybody.
Now I love that they're trolling. Again, the guy's name whose name I don't know. He's like, I remember it was episode 32 at the hour 1 hour 22 and 9 seconds. Episode 32 was like 4 years ago or whatever.
Unbelievable. Well, the dude with all the emojis with like sort of the dark looking, like very what is this cover photo? I can't tell. It almost looks like, who is that in there? It kind of looks like OJ Simpson. Wow. But again, we can't see it sized. It's so small that I can't see it.
And plus the YouTube logo's like over it.
But we need a name for Fist Bump. That's his first emoji.
That's what we're calling him, Fist Bump?
Yeah. We need, what else do we want to call him?
I don't know. Some people are saying 1MA, which I still don't even know what that means. No, but I got love for Taurus for sure. He's been around forever. Or she. Yeah. I have the Taurus.
No, it's he. Yeah, he calls in all the time on mine.
So. Oh, he does. Okay. Yeah. By the way, speaking of OJ, and I'm really going on a rabbit hole, I just watched the OJ Simpson documentary on Netflix because I remember watching it live when I was like 15, but I did not know the details. It's insane. The whole thing was insane.
Yeah, it's absurd.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
He's like, what the F? When he said that the profile picture looks like OJ.
Well, it's really just because it's so zoomed out. Fist.
It's so zoomed out for us. We can hardly see it.
Yeah. Don't take it too seriously, Fist. Yeah. I'm literally looking like so zoomed out, but
he said his head's not that big.
I think he's super secretive too. He might be like FBI guy because he's not letting us know. He must work for the government. He's not letting us know what his name is. Look at he's revving it up too. He's hitting the eye emojis. He knows what he's doing. We're on to you now, Fist Bump. I'm gonna go look up your. I almost thought I was on my personal channel here for a second, but all right, everybody.
Can we tell Tila how many concurrents there are? Because that's crazy.
I was about to. Yeah, go ahead though.
Tila, 5,158 concurrents.
Big Monday number.
Pretty good on a Monday.
Big Monday number. We are tracking down, hopefully, at least one headliner for Wednesday night. We hope you'll join us for our 3rd annual schedule release live stream party. Will be a special. We will have all the stops. We're going to pull them all out as we always do, even if it's last minute. We will have a giveaway as well. By the way, if you're just tuning in, let's just pull this up quickly before we jump here, because right now on Instagram, you can get an early head start on one of our giveaways that we have coming up on Wednesday night. Go to PRMI Mid-Atlantic on Instagram. PRMI Mid-Atlantic. Go through those instructions right there, and you'll be eligible for $100 that can go directly to the Ravens team store. So go check it out. One of the many things that we got coming up. Please like the video on your way out. Subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell. Anything else from you, partner? You're smiling.
No, I'm just the chat's cracking me up, but let's go. We got to go.
Appreciate the chat. Appreciate everybody. Awesome start to the week. Should be a good one. For Sarah, I'm Bobby signing off from this Monday Ravens Lunch Hour live stream. We'll catch up with you tomorrow, if not before. And as always, Voltrons, we appreciate you spending some time with us here inside the vault. We'll talk to you.